pro-Israel. I love the Jewish people. I'm pro-Israel. I love the Jewish people. I'm pro-Israel. I love the Jewish people. Jews are the main character of the world. They are. Like if you look at history, as a story, the Jews are the main character. Right. I always said that. I still think that.
Alright, привет, shalom, salut to the monde, and welcome to, I guess, answering paganism, answering pagans. We're going to continue with the review video. Adam Green and Gnostic Informant did a review on the Not So Chosen People video. Older video, it's about 8-9-year-old video. Let's do a commentary and go over the points that I made that they commented on and comment on what they said. Okay? So we're going to get right into it. First, I need to thank everybody for the donations. The Give, Send, Go has been, pretty amazing. I'm going to try to find a way to thank all you guys for all the help that you've sent me. And again, top donation for the month, I think it'll end at the end of September, will be a Third Reich silver necklace made with real coins from the Third Reich from during World War II, right? So this is a silver-plated copper German coin from, represents Jew-free money. All right. So I just wanted to thank everybody. And if you guys have any questions, you guys, like super chat wise, you could send them via Give, Send, Go. And if I get enough questions and stuff, then we can do like just a Q&A video, just for you guys. So let's just get into it. We're going to play the first clip. It's pretty short, but I need you guys to pay attention because it's not just a lot's being said here without, I don't even think they realize what they've actually said. It's to do with the white race. And my view is that civilization, going back to the beginning, was built by the white races. Not desert people, not brown people, that the Fertile Crescent, that area between Egypt and Babylon, Iraq, into India, all the way, this area here, the Caucasian regions too. This is the home of what the white race. This is where we started. And they obviously don't agree with that. They think civilization was built by brown people, by the dark races, and I don't. I think that over time people mixed, right? So let's play the first clip, and then we'll get right into it.
Testament can even be considered Jewish. So now that you've branded me an anti-Semite, we can begin. So the expression anti-Semite literally means against Shem or his descendants. However, being anti-Jewish isn't the same as being
Why'd they make Shem look like me?
I don't know. That is weird. Why did they make him like that? Because that's not how he's supposed to look. Shem is, he's supposed to be representing like the
people that live in the desert in the Middle East.
Afro-Asiatic Semites. You know what I mean? Anyways, let's keep.
Let me explain.
All right. So, man, oh man, why did I make Shem look like this? Now, Adam Green, the vibe I get from this guy, and Gnostic Informant, I get this vibe that they're very narcissistic people. I think they think the world kind of revolves around them. So I did not know who Adam Green was in 2017. I had no idea who the guy was. This is not him. I made this because I believe that civilization was birthed from the white races, okay? That what you would call Semites, Indo-Europeans, Egyptians, they were originally very fair, very white, blonde hair, blue eyes, red hair, stuff like this. And then over time, they mixed with the darker races, the tribal people that were around them, And just like what's happening, like Greece was originally very blonde hair, blue eyed. Turkey was originally blonde hair, blue eyed. The Middle East was blonde hair, blue eyed. North Africa, Spain was all Germanic at one point. You know, and now when you look at these regions, they're very dark. Okay, a lot of dark mixing came in from the Arabs, from the Turks. So like the word Arab technically means mixed. Okay, and so these mixed people, Arabs, which I believe were half Caucasian, you know, then you get some African in there, you get the ethnic Indians, you know, I think they're called Dravidians. Anyways, and over time, these civilizations that were once built with white elites, it's like in India. In northern India, like the word Aryan comes from this word Arya, which means noble in Sanskrit. And when you go to the north of India, the northern Indians are much taller and much Aryan looking. They're lighter skinned, higher intelligence. And then when you go south, they become smaller and darker, and their language changes. Like when you go, I don't think Tamil and these languages in the south of India are Aryan languages. They represent the natives that were originally there. And the north, the Arya, the nobles, were the whiter races. And now when you look at like the Punjabis and the northern Indians, they're very Indian now. They don't have blonde hair, blue eyes, because we're dealing with recessive genes and dominant genes. And the Caucasian races have recessive genes. And over time, the dominant genes will dominate over the recessive genes, and the recessive genes will eventually get lost. And so India is a good example of what I'm talking about. And that's exactly what happened in India, I believe, happened in the Middle East, happened in Egypt, to the point now where it's happening now in Greece, it's happening in Italy. If you go to Italy now, you'll notice the northern Italians, they look Germanic. You start going south to Calabria, the more south you go in Italy, the darker they become, right? And also, if you talk to Italians, I'm pretty sure that the northern parts of Italy are the high-functioning parts. That the rest of Italy depends on, I'm pretty sure, the whiter, the more Caucasian regions are the parts of Italy that are actually keeping the country running. And I would say it's the exact same thing in India. The lighter races, the lighter, that's just where civilization goes. That's where my research has taken me, that if you want to, civilization seems to follow the white races. And even China too. Like China was a very late blooming civilization. I'm not saying that there wasn't old stuff there. I'm talking about civilization, not like pre-Chinese culture. Like obviously there were tribes and stuff there, but when they really exploded and became civilized, I believe it was after they made contact with Caucasian people, okay? So why did I make Shem look like this? It's because that's what I believe, all right? So the first thing I want to point out about what these guys said is that they called Egyptians, or they called people from the Middle East here, Afro-Asiatic. So we're going to look at Ramesses II, okay? So this is Ramesses II, and this is what they say he would have looked like if you reconstruct him. He had blonde hair, probably blue eyes, and you'll notice he looks a lot like Tywin Lannister from Game of Thrones, the actor that plays Tywin Lannister. He's blonde hair, blue-eyed ruler. They look very similar. And so Ramesses II would be called Afro-Asiatic, right? Because now Afro-Asiatic, in its pure definition, it's not a race of people, okay? The term Afro-Asiatic references a linguistic family, okay, and not a race of people. That's very important. You can speak a language and you're Afro-Asiatic, okay? It doesn't tell you what color your skin is by saying Afro-Asiatic, right? That's not what the term means. So when they say Afro-Asiatic, right, it's like you could speak a language and be a different race. So there's a difference between geography, where you're from, race, and language, all right? So, like, I live in the Balkans. I'm not from here. That's where I am now. I speak English, right? But I'm not really English. I'm French. Moi, je parle français. Je viens d'une famille française. I don't speak French. On the internet, I speak English, but I'm actually French. So just because I speak English doesn't make me English, right? Just because I live in the Balkans doesn't mean I'm from the Balkans. So when they say Afro-Asiatic, that's not saying what color his skin is, and it's telling you what language he's speaking. That's what, in its truest form, Afro-Asiatic means, okay? And same thing with Indo-European. At its core definition, an Indo-European isn't really your race. You'd have to specify, that. It's actually a language group. They're technically not using the term right. I don't want to be a jerk about it, but that's technically, what it means. It's part of a linguistic family. Okay, and the Semites are part of this family, as are Egyptians. Okay, they're kind of lumped together based upon grammar. All right, so Pharaoh Ramses II was Afro-Asiatic and had blonde hair. Okay, so I'm just saying that, wasn't he Afro-Asiatic? Them saying that, doesn't tell you what color his skin is. It tells you what language group he's part of. So the language you speak doesn't determine your race. Okay, so this is like a depiction of Queen Nefertiti, and when you zoom, like they're fighting hard on this, guys. No, she doesn't have blue eyes. She doesn't have gray hair. I think she does, and a lot of people do. But the people in charge are fighting and saying, no, she doesn't, right? And one of her eyes are missing. I don't know why it's missing. Maybe, I don't know if there's a cover-up, but what I do know is they are working very hard, even to suppress that white people are civilization builders. They hate the white race. It's mind-blowing what's going on, this anti-white agenda. And just like Ramesses II with his blonde hair, they're trying to say and make up excuses to say, oh, well, it's the chemicals that they use for the mummification process. That's the reason why his hair turned blonde. He should have dark hair, right? He shouldn't, because we could see his hair color. We could see that Ramesses is a Caucasian, right? Now he's not Aryan. He's Caucasian. Don't confuse the terms. An Aryan is all Aryans are Caucasian, okay, if we're talking ethnicity, but not all Caucasians are Aryans, okay? There's different branches of the Caucasian families. So anyways, my point is the ancient Egyptians, does she look like Afro-Asiatic, like a desert person? Like understand how Adam Green and Gnostic Informant are using this term, okay? They're using it in a derogatory way, and they're trying to like, it's backfiring in my opinion. They're trying to oh, he shouldn't look white, he should look brown, like a desert person, like a modern, how they look today. And what they're actually doing by saying that is they're actually giving all civilization credit to the dark races. That's what they actually did, and that's what I think is kind of funny, is I'm actually defending the white race. I'm trying to say that civilization in the Fertile Crescent, that the fathers of civilization are the Caucasian races. And they, in that one sentence, they're like, no, it's the dark races. The Babylonians were dark, the Semites were dark, the Egyptians were dark. We owe all of civilization to the dark races, is what they actually said. Because the Greeks didn't really invent anything. They invented some stuff, but they're going to take what was already invented and take it to the next level, okay? And we're going to talk about that right now, okay? So Indo-European is the same thing. If you were to actually, the term Indo-European references a linguistic family and not a race of people, okay? So again, like, you could be like me. I'm not, can I call myself British? Yeah, in a sense I can. I'm not British. I don't have any, my ancestry is French, Irish, and Viking. Okay, that's on my mom's side. As far as I've been taught, as far as I know, and looking at the names on my family tree, I don't have any English in me. My family has spent over 1,000 years fighting against the people in Britain. Okay, so whether it's my French side or my Irish side, and so I speak English. I have my legal name is extremely English. Nothing about, like, on one hand, you would think I'm the most English guy in the world, but I'm not. I'm actually the enemy of the English, okay? And I speak my conqueror's language, but, like, when I was a little boy and at home, and my mother's native language is French. Moi, je parle français, okay? Maintenant, je parle anglais, mais malheureusement, c'est ça la vérité. So I can, yeah, so that's just what I want to say, is like I'm a good example of a guy who is nothing to, like, I can call myself British in a sense. I'm part of the British Kingdom. I'm part of the British Commonwealth. I have an English name. I speak the language, but genetically I look English in a sense. I can pass, because I still come from Germanic people. They do too, but we're on different branches. We've branched out in history, right? So, yeah, that's all I'm saying, is to make sure that you understand linguistic families, okay? So you could totally be a different race and speak in other races and absorb a culture and everything from another race, like just exactly like me, right? So again, you can call a Mexican Indo-European in the sense that he's speaking Spanish, but he's not like ethnically. He's not, but he's still speaking, he's still part of the Indo-European language family. I'm just saying this is what it is according to definition, okay? And at the end, we'll talk about this more, actually. But you could say both these people are Indo-Europeans, but they're not. They're not related. They're not related people. They might speak Indo-European languages. They might be part of the same Indo-European family, but for us to say that these are the same people, it's mental illness, right? So both Indo-Europeans, right? So to say and my whole point is just to say Afro-Asiatic is stupid, okay? And to say, oh, because he's blonde hair, blue eyes, he should look Afro-Asiatic. Well, blonde hair, blue eyed people can be Afro-Asiatic, right? They can. Right? So just like this brown guy is technically Aryan, this white girl's Aryan, they're not related. They're not the same blood, okay? All right, so this term desert people, man, does it piss me off. I don't know what he means by desert people, because I mean Spanish live in the desert, you got Africans living in the desert, you've got like Mongolians and Chinese live in the desert, Australian, South Africans, white people live in the desert. I'm pretty sure Adam Green himself, I think he said he lives like in Silicon Valley area. So I mean, he's like 200 miles away from the desert, right? Are there not white, like what does he mean by desert people? He means brown people, right? So I hate this term desert people, right? Because it doesn't tell you anything. Any race could be a desert person, right? So what they're really saying is brown Afro-Asiatic desert people built the ancient world and founded European culture. That's what I heard with this comment, based off him going, why does he look like me? It's not about you, man. I know it's hard for you to hear that the world doesn't revolve around you. I wasn't thinking of you when I made that. And the next segment, it just breaks my heart that the next thing I'm going to talk about is the Adamic race. And you're probably going to think it's about you too, right? And it's not, okay? So I don't think when they made that comment, I was more offended, because it's like, you really think that, so this is what they're saying, okay? They're saying that the dark races, we owe them solar year and calendars. We owe them geometry, land surveying, medicine, specialized physicians, writing, hieroglyphics, religious and philosophical traditions, architecture, and monumental buildings. They just said that brown Afro-Asiatic desert people built the pyramids, built the ancient world. Okay? Same thing when we go to Mesopotamia, Babylon, Assyria, Sumeria before them, right? Astronomy, astrology, zodiac, celestial science, mathematics, metrology, sundials, division of hours, laws, codes. Now, the laws and codes, like Hammurabi was actually Canaanite king. He wasn't technically from the Babylon. They were Amorites who conquered, and that's in the Bible. That's the Amorite conquest. When the Israelites are taking back. Or taking Canaan, they're fighting who? The Amorites. Who are the Amorites? They pretty much took over. They conquered from Canaan all the way to Babylon, close to, wouldn't be surprised if they went as far as India. And it was actually a Canaanite king, Hammurabi, wasn't Babylonian. Chronology was invented by the Sumerians before. So, I mean, is this what he means by desert people? Like the alphabet writing system we owe to the Phoenicians. The Greeks took that according to Herodotus. They got their alphabet, aleph, bet, gimel, dalet, these things. Alpha, beta, gamma, delta. Like this is This is the Greeks got their alphabet. I mean, they had a pre-existing one with the Minoans. We can't really decipher it, the Minoan script, but they then replaced it with a Phoenician script, which is based off Paleo-Hebrew. Hebrew is where the Greeks got their alphabet, from the Phoenicians/Israelites. Okay, maritime navigation. Okay, that existed before the Phoenicians, but the Phoenicians seriously advanced it along with shipbuilding innovations. The purple dye, all the royal families wanted the purple dye that was brought by the Israelites and the Phoenicians, the Canaanites. Okay, so to exalt the Greeks and the Nords while scorning the desert people is to praise the echo and despise the voice. All right, the Greeks and the Nords were nothing. They were the backwaters. You wouldn't want to live there. You wanted to live in Babylon, in Assyria, in Egypt. All the great Greeks, Plato, Pythagoras, Herodotus, they all went to to Egypt. All the great Greeks went to Egypt to learn. Egypt, they revered ancient Egypt. Like, the Greeks were amazing in the sense that they were adventurers, you know? They traveled to Spain, they traveled to Egypt, they traveled to the ends of the Black Sea, you know, Jason and the Golden Fleece. So my point is that the Greeks would never speak like this about the brown desert people. Okay, they revered the brown desert people, you know, and I don't think they were brown. Adam Green and Gnostic Informant. Okay, so that's that. I just wanted to say that. And what they're technically saying, what Adam Green and Gnostic Informant actually said with that comment was, these people built, you know, the ancient world. Okay, not these people. Okay, so when we're gonna look at this is what the Romans looked like now that we could run ultraviolet lights over the statues. The ancient Greeks are depicted with golden hair, red hair. The Egyptians, same thing. The Persians too, red hair. So, and then over time, over thousands of years, as their civilizations completely fell apart, that's the darkening, right? And that's exactly what's starting to happen we're seeing that now happen live right before our eyes, okay? So, I don't know. You guys can believe Adam Green that these people built the ancient world, that this is the desert people. Why does Shem, why does he look like this? And I believe you guys get it, okay? So I believe in the Adamic race interpretation of the Bible, and I'm prepared to debate anybody on this topic, where I believe that Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 are two completely different topics. They're two completely different stories going on. You have after the seventh day, you have this period where God rests. I mean, it's irrelevant if people, like, if you're either going to believe, you either don't believe in the Bible, or if you do, you're either going to have to be an old earth creationist or a young earth creationist. And what I would say is, I don't know how old the earth is, because the Bible doesn't say. The Bible will tell you when Adam came on the scene. The Septuagint Bible places Adam in about 5500 BC. The Jewish Masoretic places Adam in about 4000 BC. Okay, and I believe the Septuagint is correct. But when you read Genesis 1, right, so you're going to get the creation, and each day is what in Hebrew is called a yom. And in a sense, a yom can also be a period of time. And other people will argue, no, it's a literal day, and other people will argue, well, no, it's a period of time. It's an age. And for me, it's kind of irrelevant. If whether God can create everything in a day, he could create everything in an age. The point is that in Genesis 1, God is clearly creating hunter-gatherer people. In Genesis 2, it's a completely different story, and I'll just go over it very quickly. And I've got videos on this, at least they're in my videos. But we can actually do an entire study just on this, right? And so we clearly, in the modern world, we understand that there's obviously, like, genetics-wise, we have recessive genes and we have dominant genes. There's clearly two types of genetics out there, and the main one, recessive and dominant. And in Genesis, we get the same kind of story. We get two different creation stories. And after God creates, the hunter-gatherers in Genesis 1, you have this period of rest. God takes a rest. He stops from everything. He's already told, he's created mankind, male and female, said, be fruitful, be multiplied, go out into the world. And then he rests, and we don't know how long he rests for. We don't know how long God said, okay, go be fruitful, dominate the earth, subdue it. He doesn't say that to Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve are never told to go dominate the world, go dominate the animals, go have lots of children, replenish the world. That's the opposite of what Adam and Eve are taught. They're told, hey, you stay in the garden, you're not going anywhere. And it's not until after they're kicked out of the garden, that's when they start having children. They were never told to have children. They were told, do not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right? So the first thing you're going to notice when you read Genesis 1 and Genesis 2 is that Genesis 1, everything's different. The order, vegetation comes first, then the animals, then men and women simultaneously. They come at the same time. Genesis 2, you have the man first, vegetation, like God then starts planting the garden after he's created Adam. Then you have animals are brought to Adam, and Adam is taught how to name things, how to call things something. And then you have the woman after the animals. It's a completely different story going on. Okay? Genesis 1 is cosmic, it's global, it's go out there, go. And then when you come to Genesis 2, it's local. It's like, here, I built a little garden and you guys are going to stay in this promised land. It's kind of like the Israelites. The Israelites, here's your promised land. You have a covenant with me. You don't leave here. And if you screw up, I'm banishing you from this land, and if you break our covenant. And that's what this is about. Genesis 1 is about people that don't have a covenant with God, and Genesis 2 is about people who do have a covenant with God. Okay? And that's what Adam and Eve are. They're the first covenant people. Okay? And you're going to notice that in Genesis 1, herbs, trees, beasts of the earth. They're given wild animals. They're not given what Adam is given. Adam is given very specifically shrubs of the field, herbs of the field, and beasts of the field. This is farming language. It's talking about farming stuff. Adam is taught how to agriculture, how to farm, how to tend animals, how to make nature and animals serve him, where the people in Genesis 1 are the hunter-gatherer tribes, the tribal people who are taught to depend on the earth and hunt and gather, where Adam is taught how to make the earth serve him, how to make the animals serve him. Okay? Total different story. Okay? So, also, God is portrayed completely different, where he's like a distant commander, and he's only called God in Genesis 1. And then when you come to Genesis 2, he's intimate. He's like a father. He's a teacher. And this is where he's also called Yehovah. He's called, Yahweh. Yod-He-Vav-He. That's not in Genesis 1. So here, when he's with Adam, now we're introduced to this Yod-He-Vav-He, Yehovah, Jehovah name. Only with Adam, not Genesis 1. It's a whole different story. Okay, mankind as a whole, Genesis 1, Adam and Eve, it's a particular line. Okay, and different commandments: be fruitful and multiply, and do not eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Right, so Adam's given the first law, the people in Genesis 1, first commandment, and all of the world, is really based upon this commandment: be fruitful and multiply, go have sex, go have children, make babies. But Adam and Eve aren't doing that. They're not taught to do that. It doesn't happen until after they screw up, after they break the law, the first law given, and now they understand why things die. When you sin, you commit sin. Now the other people, the tribal people, understand why they're dying. No one knew why they were dying before. Adam introduced why things die. Adam, and then Eve is called the mother of the living, not because she birthed everybody. She's not the mother that birthed everybody. She's the mother because through her, she's given this name specifically after a child is promised to her that will redeem mankind from death. Okay? And Adam now understands why things must die. Sin. When you break the law, you are sin. Sin is what and that's the whole idea of Christ coming to defeat death, and that's not defeat Satan, Lucifer, the fallen angel. He's there to defeat death. So, anyways, we'll talk about this another time. But this is why I made Shem look like that, because when we come to what does Adam mean, it means to show blood in the face, to turn rosy, to turn red, which only one race can really do that. It's the white race. It's the Caucasian races, right? People who are descended from the Caucasians can show blood in the face, can turn ruddy and red. And that's what it means, reddish, okay, hair or complexion. This is the biblical definition of Adam, okay? Okay, and then, so out of the ground, just showing you that Adam is given very specifically farming animals, okay? Beasts of the field. Beasts of the field isn't just farming animals, it's to do with, like, animals that mankind would have to deal with as a result, like, as a result of farming and agriculture, okay? So it's not just like chickens and cows and stuff. It would also be, you could say, like foxes and stuff who are now going to come, even wild animals that are now going to come and eat your chickens and try to, serpents and stuff that will also be like in the fields and stuff. They're more to do with like beasts that mankind's going to see on a daily basis versus wild animals, things that you have to go out into the wilderness and hunt. Okay. So when Asa is born, the twin brother of Israel, he's born with red hair, covered in red hair. They describe a baby coming out all hairy, and they make it clear that he's red. Okay, that it mentions hair, red. Okay, that's what the twin brother of Israel is referenced as. When David is being described, he's being described as ruddy, okay? Adomni, he's ruddy, red hair, okay? He's described as a very handsome man, okay? Very fair, beautiful to look at, and red hair. And we're going to see that Alexander the Great is also going to be described the exact same way as King David. So what I believe is that that Eve, who was created from Adam, would have looked something like this, okay? She would probably an extremely beautiful woman and would have probably had this blonde, fiery red hair. And then from her and Adam, you're going to get the Caucasian races. That's not to say other tribes weren't created, that there very well could have been other white tribes created in Genesis 1. And I'm saying very specifically they're Caucasian, okay? And at this point, even black people can be, in a sense, considered Caucasian. Like African Americans in the U.S., they're going to have jaw lines and bone structures more similar, not all, but the ones that are more mixed with Caucasian people, they're going to have more Caucasian features. They're not going to have like the round circle face that, African tribal people have. They're going to have more like long and that Germanic jawline and stuff like that. So you can even still see it. You can see the Caucasian features even in Mongolians and in Asians at this point, in Africans, in a lot of Native Americans too. So that's just due to race mixing and stuff, right? But I do believe that Adam and Eve, what the Bible is saying is it's talking about a very specific people blessed with knowledge, blessed and cursed with knowledge, and placed in the Fertile Crescent, and that from them, the Adamic people, the Adamic races, the Caucasian, that they'll birth all the Caucasian races, they're going to be the civilization builders, the farmers, right? In farming, like, civilization comes from farmers. Do you know, like, when farmers get together, they're feeding everyone. They're the ones storing the grain that they can now feed animals, and now they don't have to depend on going out and hunting. They can just, go in the backyard and slaughter a cow, slaughter a goat, kill a chicken, boom, you've got meat. And let me tell you, back in those days, the men that had the meat, the guys bringing home the bacon, those are the guys who got the babes. The women were into the guys who could feed them, right? If you've ever seen the most angry I ever see women is when they're hungry, right? I think almost all men, especially if you're married and you have a girlfriend, women are particularly evil when they're hungry. And so back then, guys who could bring home the bacon, they're really the ones who are going to get all the girls. And so when you're a farmer, right, and you can control all that, you're not just like, you can go out and hunt and come back with nothing, but when you're a farmer, you're calculated, you're growing grains, you could feed your livestock, you could feed your people. Now you're in a position to build cities and store food and store grain. And that's exactly what the Bible is telling us at the very beginning, that That's what Cain, after he killed his brother Abel, Cain was a farmer. And through farming and agriculture, Cain was able to do what? Build a city, right? And he built a city, he found a wife. Well, where did he get his wife? It's because there's other people. Well, Genesis 1 is very clear that God created multiple races, but Cain now is going to build a city. He's going to take these tribal people, organize them. He's going to become like a god to them because he can feed them, he can teach them. And that's what he names his city. He names his city Enoch, which in a sense means teacher, teaching, learning, university, institution. That's what he calls his city, because that's what he's going to start to do. And he's going to build a city, and yeah, he's going to use his farming knowledge, and that's how because you need that. You need agriculture to build a city. So, and this is where religion's going to get invented and all this stuff, and we talked about that another time. But the point that I'm trying to draw is that farmers, agriculture, exactly what I believe the Bible's portraying at the beginning with the Adamic race, that they're being taught by God how to farm and tend animals. Farmers get together, they're going to establish lands and borders. This is my land, that's your land, let's put markers here, let's make a deal. Animal sacrifice. Why are they always sacrificing animals in the ancient world? Well, the word for sacrifice is also the word, like covenant, is also to cut. It's the Hebrew word to cut. And this is where I would say the term, let's cut a deal. When you make an agreement in the ancient world, generally you do it with a cut. You sacrifice an animal dies, you have a barbecue with the guy, you bring witnesses, we all have a dinner, we all made this agreement. When you have a party, like a deal, like you cut a deal, we made a covenant, we had a pact, there was blood was shed. You can't go back on your word now. That's why every time in the Bible when they're doing this stuff, there's usually a deal being made, like with Israel, Jacob and his father-in-law or whatever, And so let's cut a deal, to cut, covenant, okay? And so from that, farmers are going to make deals, they're going to have lands, they're going to establish borders, they're going to establish laws, they're going to be like, okay, well, we need someone to protect our land, let's hire police, let's pool our resources together, let's hire, and now governments start being formed through farmers. Oh, we need to create a stock exchange, a place where we could sell our goods, and we need people to police our lands, and we need industry, I need farming tools, I need a guy to make a handle for me, I need a carpenter to work on my farm, I need a metal guy to help me, make blades for my farming equipment. And now you've got metal crafting, you've got carpentry, you've got industry now coming from farming. Okay, law is now coming from farming. Police, we need men to guard our fields. Okay, well, we need this, and now clothing and fashion, and now women are going to get cooking, and now civilization is going to start to explode. And it starts with agriculture, starts with farming. Okay, Rome, the most powerful empire in the ancient world, started off as a farming empire. They didn't have gold or silver. They weren't great boat builders, nothing. They were great farmers. And Rome became the most powerful empire in the world by farming and I'd say administration. The Roman strength, I think, was being organized, administration, law, and farming, right? And so anyways, my point is that I believe the Bible is talking about knowledge, Caucasian people, and that's what it is. And then that through the Caucasian races, and the Jews aren't in the story yet. Like the God of the Bible is trying to tell us that at the very beginning of the Bible, Adam wasn't a Jew, Cain and Abel weren't Jews, Seth wasn't a Jew, Noah wasn't a Jew, the sons of Noah weren't Jews. The Aryans, the God of the Bible was the God of the Aryans way before the Jews, way before the Jews ever existed, at least 1,500 years before the Jews ever existed. He was the God of the Aryans. Okay, that's very clear in the Bible. So when they say, "Oh, the Jewish God, are you gonna believe in the Jewish God?" Well, the Jews claim to believe in the Aryan God, and do you know what got the Jews destroyed, according to history? When the Jews outlawed anyone, Gentiles, from worshiping God, their God, the Jewish God, that's when God marked them for destruction. Okay? That's what started the Roman-Jewish War. When the Jews outlawed Aryans from worshiping their God, that's when God marked them for destruction, and they were wiped out. Okay. Now, just wanted to show you this, that Alexander the Great is also, when they're describing Alexander the Great and what he looked like, Plutarch, again, this is hundreds of years. We don't really have any accounts of Alexander the Great from, right after he lived. It's Plutarch, hundreds of years later. So it says that his complexion was fair, inclining towards red, and it's talking about his hair color. Okay, that he had blonde hair, but it was more like a strawberry blonde. It was going from blonde to reddish. Okay, and it's using this word piron. Okay, and what pyros means, it's where we get like the word pyro. It's fire. Okay, so what it's saying is that his hair was blonde, going towards flame, going towards fire, the color of fire, piron. Okay, and so blondie red hair is what he has. Okay, and when we come to the Septuagint, when it's describing King David, wouldn't you know it, Pirakes, it's the same Pyros. It's saying that David's hair was fiery red too. So King David, Alexander the Great are both described, in a sense, with the same color hair. Okay, it's not saying that King David's skin color was the color of fire. That's insane. That's ridiculous. No, it's talking about his hair. He was a good-looking guy with reddish hair, just like Alexander was a handsome guy with blonde hair going towards Pyrrhoke, right? And it's also the name of King Pyrrhos, where we get, the term of Pyrrhic victory. He was a great king north of Greece. If you know the term of Pyrrhic victory is when it's when you win the battle, in a sense, but you lost so many soldiers winning the battle that now you can't win the war. So in a sense, you won, but your victory cost you so much that now you can't win, right? You can't win the war. You won the battle, but now you can't win the war. That's a Pyrrhic victory. And Pyrrhos, okay, he apparently he got this name because he was born with red hair. Okay, that's just, I can't prove that. That's just, but anyways, that's what the word Pyrrhos, and it's the same word that David and Alexander, are used to describe. It's the same word that are used to describe their hair colors. Okay, so just like the king of Epirus, King Pyrrhos. Okay, so Alexander the Great's sarcophagus, the very interesting. So when we look at, he wasn't found. The body of Alexander was never found. Apparently, I don't know if it's true, but this is apparently a sarcophagus that was built for Alexander the Great's body. And what we notice when we run an ultraviolet light over it, the Greeks are depicted as blondie, orange hair, almost golden hair, and the Persians are depicted with red hair. Okay, so we've got Persians and Greeks. I think this is the Battle of Arbela, I'm pretty sure, is what they're depicting here, if I had to guess. And so this was supposed to be Alexander's body. No one knows really. I mean, there are theories of what happened to his body. A lot of people think that Ptolemy stole it and he's buried somewhere hidden in Egypt. I think his body was going towards Macedonia, and we don't know where Alexander's buried. But this was apparently supposed to be his sarcophagus, or the sarcophagus of a very wealthy Greek. But this is a 300 BC, coffin, sarcophagus, and it depicts the Greeks with blonde hair and the Persians with red hair. Okay, like fiery hair. All right, so this is the traditional church view. This is what they're gonna say. We got another video to play, but this is what Adam Green and a Gnostic Informant would talk. Are gonna mention. They're gonna mention that. These are desert people to them, the Semites. These are the Egyptian Camites to them, black people, and this to me is absolute insanity. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can see how ancient people believe this, but we can't believe this in the modern world. You know, blonde, blue-eyed people don't give birth to Africans. Blonde, blue-eyed people don't give birth to Asians and Africans and Indians and Native, you know, like Asia, you know, what we call Asian people, like Chinese, like you're not going to get this kind of diversity. You know, couldn't God do that in a sense? Could God have, you know, genetically made one group of people and inside, for me, this is insane. In the modern world, we know that this doesn't make sense. And a lot of people don't take the Bible seriously because they believe Adam and Eve are the only two people and they gave birth to everybody, because that's just the church view. But in the modern world, we know that's not possible. Genetics just does not work in favor. But then when you read Genesis 1 and 2 and you understand they're separate accounts and that God clearly created multiple people, multiple tribes, men and women at the same time, and that Genesis 2 is a whole different story talking about his covenant people, right? So, but Adam Green and Gnostic Informant push this, you know, brown desert people, we owe civilization to them. They built and invented everything, and then the Europeans copied from them because this is what they believe Christianity teaches, the Bible teaches, and I don't know. So, anyway, so I believe the sons of Noah were Caucasians, and this is going to explain when God separated their languages. He didn't separate the languages of the world. They were already separate. They were on different continents, different animals on every continent. I don't believe in a global flood. I believe in a local flood. And I can argue for that point too. I don't believe that the waters went up past Mount Everest, you know, close to 9 kilometers high where nothing can breathe. They would have all died instantly of cold, and I don't believe that every animal on the planet was on the ark. That's insane to me. The Bible can very well be translated that everything in the region died. Everything in the land, eretz, that's the Hebrew word used. It's not, you know, when we say eretz Israel, we're not saying Israel, the world, we're saying the land of Israel. So when it says the eretz was flooded, the land, the region was flooded. I don't believe that Noah's Ark went up past Mount Everest where nothing can live, nothing can breathe. They would have died instantly. Yeah, I don't believe every animal, like that's why on every continent you get unique races, unique languages, you get unique animals and vegetation. Everything's so unique everywhere you go. I don't believe kangaroos were on Noah's Ark and that they built little kangaroo rafts and somehow got to Australia and nowhere else, you know. I don't believe that. So, or llamas, you know. So, and I'm prepared to debate that. I don't believe Adam and Eve are the first two people. I could be easily proven. I don't believe in a global flood. I believe in a local flood. I think the Bible can be interpreted either which way. And that when it talks about the language separation, it's very specifically talking about God dividing these brothers and their children, the Aryans, the Japhites, the Semites, what we would call, and the Camites, the Egyptians, that they're the ones. And exactly where the Tower of Babylon is exactly where we see these distinct languages, which makes no sense because they're like, you know what I mean? It's like when you go to Europe, it's like we could see that all our languages are connected, you know, that we're all like, they're all Indo-European languages. But when you get to the Middle East, you've got this weird clash exactly where the Tower of Babylon is. Boom, these three brothers, these three languages, these three tribes. And then they mix with all the locals around them, okay, over time. And that's why they became darker over time. So now we're going to play the next clip, the Persian clip. So let's talk about that.
The Semites are the descendants of a man named Shem, who would father some of the world's most renowned empires and dynasties, such as the Assyrian and Babylonian empires, and even the Persians can call them.
No, the Persians are not Semitic. The Persians are Indo-Europeans. The Babylonians and the Assyrians adopted Semitic languages, but even they're mostly are native Mesopotamians. Now, what he just said was completely nonsense. He pulled out of his ass. The Semites do not make up Persians. So,
or Babylonians or Assyrians. And Shem is from Noah's Ark story, which is copied from the Epic of Gilgamesh.
Shem is a literary construction of Jews that were trying to make sense of why is there three major races. You know what I mean?
Yeah, probably what it was. Yeah.
And it would be Japheth would be the one with the blonde hair, not Shem. If you're really going to go that route, this is just nonsense.
Is there any ancient inscription of Babylon or Assyria that talks about Shem is their progenitor?
Never. Zero. Nothing. Shem's not even mentioned by anyone until the 3rd century BC.
This is the stupidest video that I never even wanted to play it because it's just so ridiculous.
It's so bad.
But the Christians will share this on the internet and it'll get like 20,000 likes. Yeah. They're the biggest lying copers that don't care at all. They love being fed lies and being duped and believing insane shit.
It's nonsense.
So the Semites are
well, you guys heard it, so I don't believe the Jews are God's chosen people, and I don't believe that the Bible teaches that the Jews are God's chosen people. I make this video, instead of Adam Green discussing it with me, having a talk with me, saying, hey man, how did you come up with these views? Or Gnostic Informant, which Gnostic Informant claims, that's what he likes to do, right? I don't know if I could find the clip. I think it's this one here.
I'd love to see you guys talk.
I would love to talk, yeah.
And have a,
I think it's cool.
Not even a debate, but a nice discussion back and forth on interpretations.
I think that's a better way to do things.
100%, man.
The whole like Jay Dyer, Ortho Bro debate scene is all about who can make the other person look dumb and like gotchas and like it's all sophistry. Yeah. I think when people sit down with two opposing ideas, sit down and just talk and just hash everything out without trying to get the other person, the audience learns more and it's more productive.
Yes, I agree.
That's what I want. That's what I think people should be doing.
I agree, man.
Amazing, right? Like the guy sounds like he's just so noble. Like he didn't do that with me. That's what he did. He says like that, like pretty much like I'm an idiot. He just pulled that out of his ass. Like I'm just some liar. Instead of saying, hey man, why did you say that? Like, and then you got Adam Green. But again, like this guy is like, the way he talks about the Jews, he loves the Jews. I'm pro-Israel. The Jews are the main characters of history. Like Adam Green shouldn't be friends. So the guy that says the Jews are the main characters of history, I'm pro-Israel. Oh my God, oy vey, I love you, Rabbi. Adam Green's friends with this guy. He puts this guy on a show to judge me, who made a video that says the Jews are not God's chosen people, that the Jews are liars and thieves and they stole all this stuff. I'm Adam Green's enemy. Isn't that odd? The guy who says the Jews are lying thieves who hijacked the Bible, stole everything. Because Adam Green's objective is to destroy the Bible. He's not there to even make peace with certain versions of Christianity. Right? He's not looking to ally with some Christians that are actually beneficial to taking down Jewish power. He's not. His objective is the same as the Bolsheviks, to get the Europeans to stop believing in the Bible. He's got the same objective as the Jews, destroy Christianity. Adam Green has the same objective as Rabbi Tovia Singer, Gnostic Informant's Jewish rabbi friend. Oy vey. Do you see the problem here? Right? And so while Gnostic Informant is just trying to destroy Christianity with Adam Green, right, which is the same objective as the Orthodox Jews, right? So he says one thing to Adam Green's viewers, and then he says the opposite when he has his rabbi friend. Let's play another clip from him. This one here.
Well, something interesting happens with the history of the Jewish people that is impacting the world. I just want to say this real quick. So, first wave of Judaizing the Greek world happens obviously after Alexander the Great, and the Septuagint gets produced, and all of a sudden the Greeks can read it, and they're very interested in it. You have Jews in Alexandria who are Greek, and they're reading the Septuagint. But then another event happens in 192 BCE. You have Antiochus III. 2 million Jewish people were relocated to the Greek world, to Europe, Asia Minor. And what happened as a result of that? Did they all become Greek worshippers of Dionysus and start having orgies and do all that? No, it was the other way around. People saw the piety and the humbleness of these Jewish people, and they were very interested in it. The Pythagoreans and the Orphics and the Platonists, these people this is the type of religion that we're looking for. And they mixed, and you get this sort of, and so Jewish culture influences the same way Greeks do to the Romans. It goes the other. It's very fascinating.
So what he's doing here is like with Adam Green, it's like the Jews are tried to take over the pagan world. the Jews are evil. That's why Paul, the Pharisee, the evil, like on one hand, Paul's real. They talk about Paul being real when they're, on one hand, but then he's actually fake and wasn't real. We'll talk about that maybe in the next video or in 2 or 3 videos after. But notice what he's doing there. It's like he's telling, when he's with the rabbi, Judaism is so great, oive, the Greeks, learned so much, the Orphics, the Pythagoreans, because again, the Greeks are paganism is so degenerate. The Greeks are so degenerate with Zeus and that, Zeus and Dionysus and then the Romans adopt it too with Jupiter and Bacchus and all this stuff, Aphrodite and Venus. That to the point where the philosophers, I could go over this again with other people, but the Greek philosophers were all pederasts. They were all having sex with little boys. It was so normal in ancient Greece. Zeus abducting children, Apollo, it's all in their myths and stuff. And then you get the Orphics, and the Orphics are trying to, and the philosophers too, they're trying to, in a sense, break out of this. They're trying to figure out, why are there gods? Why is paganism so insane and evil and ridiculous? And, and you can see it in Plato. You can see that Plato is, on one hand, he's living in a total degenerate culture. And then he's by the end of Plato's life, he's realizing we have to change things. That's what in a sense, the Republic is about, right? And now Plato and Socrates are anti-paganism. They're anti the traditions that they were passed down. So Gnostic Informant has to kind of pick and choose. On one end, you're saying we need to go back to Homer, but then you're going to quote the Orphics and these guys and Pythagoreans and Plato and Socrates, who were against Homer and Hesiod, against traditional paganism. They were against this stuff, right? So, because you could see, the Greeks, as degenerate as they are, they're trying to figure out what to do, because they know that they can't worship these gods. And what happens is, when Christianity, I agree with what he's saying to the rabbi, but when he's with Adam Green, he's saying the opposite. That's the point, okay? I do agree with him that when Christianity showed up, what was the sign in John when Jesus knew his time would come? And there were certain Greeks among them that came up to worship at the feast. Okay, the same came up, therefore, to Philip, which was of Bethsaida of Galilee. Okay, they wanted to see Jesus, these Greeks. Okay, and then when they came to tell Jesus, hey, these Greeks are here to see you, Jesus is like, okay, well, now I know the hour has come. So it's amazing that when Jesus gives the green light for his crucifixion, is when Greeks had come to almost bear witness to what's about to go down. Greeks were seeking him. Just like Gnostic Informant said that the Greeks were interested in, this is the religion we're looking for, because paganism is evil. Our gods are degenerate psychopaths, and it's not good for the people to behave in such ways. We need to get rid of paganism, is what Gnostic Informant said to the rabbi, right? And that the Jews, with the Bible, with the Torah, not the Talmud, that the Greeks were starting to see reason in this. They were starting to see, okay, maybe monotheism is a good idea. Maybe this God you have that outlaws men dressing like women, it outlaws incest. The Torah outlaws everything the Greek gods are doing. You can't cheat on your wives. You can't be sleeping around. You can't act like Aphrodite. You can't be killing people like Apollo and Ares. Do you know? You can't sleep with your daughter. You can't behave like this. And so it's amazing that this is what this guy is talking about with the rabbi, but then with Adam Green, they're pushing you back to paganism, right? So anyways, let's go back to what we were talking about here. So very interesting, because he total straw man. Do you notice he was anticipating, he was waiting to hit the pause button, and he paused what I said halfway through what I said, and then he didn't hear what I said, or he only heard what he wanted. He built a straw man. I didn't say that the Persians are Semites. That's not what I said. Okay? Pay attention. No, the Persians are not Semitic. the Persians are Indo-European. Well, duh. No, no shit, Sherlock. Okay, the Babylonians and the Assyrians adopted Semitic languages. Well, that's kind of a stupid statement. I don't know where you got that. I guess what he's saying is that the Middle East, he's mentioning geography here, but they were native Mesopotamians. The only native Mesopotamians would have been the Sumerians. Those were the native. See, they adopt. So what he's saying is that this native Mesopotamians, which would have been Sumerians, who don't really exist, they got absorbed by the Semitic-speaking people, people speaking Akkadian, which is like the mother Semitic language. All Semitic languages come from what we call Akkadian, okay, and Syriac and Aramaic, okay? They're both descended from Akkadian. So is Hebrew, okay? And so is Arabic. They're all descended from this Akkadian mother. And what happened in Sumeria, the Sumerians were the... See, I don't know what he's getting at. Where did this language come from then? Right? And again, the linguistic group, he's also proving my other point. The Sumerians were not Semitic in the sense of genetics. They were the original inhabitants of the land. And some people came in, and the conquest of Sargon of Akkad, okay, this is when what we know from archaeological records is everyone in this region was speaking Sumerian, an ancient language, okay, the first language recorded in this region. And then what then happens is all of a sudden bilingual documents start showing up exactly after the flood. Okay, just within like hundreds of years after the flood, all of a sudden you have this group of people now that show up in this region, and now you got this dual, this region now has two languages. And then a couple hundred years after that, it's only one language. The Sumerian language is completely gone, and it's now a Semitic Akkadian language. And so what he's saying is this this language, this what we call Semitic language today, just, you know, the native Mesopotamians it just showed up. But they weren't Semitic people. It's insane. It's insane. Obviously this language came from somewhere. Where did it come from? Where did this Akkadian language come from that replaced Sumerian and replaced the Sumerian people? Where did it come from? Okay? Bible says Semitic people came in and took over that region. All right. So again, native Mesopotamians, I don't know. I guess he's saying there's no such thing as Babylonians or Assyrians. They were always Sumerians, and then somehow, poof, magically, their language and culture was just completely replaced. Don't know how. We don't know how. What he just said was complete nonsense that he pulled out of his ass. The Semites do not make up Persians. Interesting. Okay, Adam Green. Okay, neither do the Babylonians or Assyrians, and Shem is from the Noah's Ark story, which is copied from the Epic of Gilgamesh. Oh man, like there's one character in there, a guy who saved animals. Give it like there's the Epic of Gilgamesh is a global flood story. I believe the Bible is a local flood story. You also have a flood story in Egypt in the sense that the prime gods of Egypt, the 8 prime gods, the Ogdoad, they come out of the what is it called? The chaotic waters, the primordial waters. And these 8 gods, 4 male, 4 female, establish Egypt and all civilization. Just like the Noah's Ark story, 4 males and 4 females come off the ark after a flood, emerge from the waters and establish civilization. And the Greeks also have a flood story, the Hindus and the Babylonians, but all their stories are batshit crazy. When you understand that the Noah's Ark story is a local flood story, the waters, they're not going as high as Mount Everest with every animal on the ark. And also, actually, let me finish my thought, that the Bible is the only book that takes the flood story that every other nation has, but the Bible makes it very realistic. It's in a region that always floods, but land between 2 rivers, known for flooding at sea level, that's in a dome, in a bowl, if you look at the mountains that surround it, okay? And that if it rained, if God broke up the waters from underneath and it rained for 40 days and 40 nights, this region's going to get flooded, okay? And so anyways, the other thing too is that he said before, like the Bible doesn't give us anything. It's not like it teaches us how to build things, like how to build buildings. But you know what's interesting about the Noah's Ark measurements? That there was a Korean engineering team that discovered that the measurements used in the Bible, in the Noah's Ark story, the length, height, and the width, the volume, right? That boat, those measurements are the optimal measurements for if you need to create a naval ship on for optimal stability on the ocean. If you want to build cargo ships, to the best measurements you can use in all of engineering are the measurements used in the Bible, in the Noah's Ark story. That was just discovered in the last 30, 40 years, guys. Okay? Maybe 50 years. I think it was maybe in the 60s or 70s, and then the 90s, that they made the connection that, wait a second, the Bible's measurements that God gave to Noah, that Moses wrote down, optimal measurements for creating a craft for stability on the ocean if you're transporting stuff. Okay? I don't know how that happened, right? Vikings didn't think of that. Bunch of desert people in Egypt, according to Adam Green, invented that. And we just discovered it in the last 50 years or so, that these are the optimal measurements used to build, cargo ships on the sea. So, anyways, what the Epic of Gilgamesh proves, the flood story proves, is that everyone agrees there was a flood, and then you have to go through the stories and go, okay, well, it doesn't prove that the Bible copied from it, because they're completely different stories. It's like if we were to talk about the Holocaust, we can talk about the same event, but have two completely different interpretations. People will see the hair and the clothing, and you walk into the camp and they've got all the luggages and the suitcases and the clothing and the hair, and you go, oh my God, this is the death camp. That's what they tell you. They were killing people here. Well, no, you don't need to cut people's hair if you're going to kill them, right? And of course they're going to confiscate their luggages and stuff and put them into storage, and of course they're going to cut off their hair, and of course they're going to get rid of your clothing. Okay, have you ever been, when I was on the army base, the first thing that happened when I got sent to if you were to start basic training or something like that, when I got sent to the army base every summer, the first thing that happens is, if my hair is too long, they're going to cut my hair. My hair is going to get cut. I'm entering a camp. Okay, and what happened one summer when I was there, some girl came in, and the girls, oh man, girls should not be in the army. They should not be on the army base. This girl brought in head lice. Okay, they didn't shave her head. They didn't cut her hair like they did the guys. And the entire army base, 4,000 army cadets, got infected with head lice. Okay, and I mean, it was a disaster. Okay, and that's exactly what happens in camps. So anyways, my point is, you can look at the hair and go, oh, I guess they're killing people by chopping off their hair, the hair piles. But my experience is they get rid of your hair because they're trying to save you from diseases. You can interpret stories. Like the entire Holocaust story can be reinterpreted. You can look at all that evidence and have an opposite story. That no, the gas chambers weren't there to kill people. They were there to save people. They were there to kill all the disease, the lice, the typhus, kill all the disease off the clothing, and save the people's lives. Okay, you can have a whole different interpretation. Same story, two different, you know what I mean? Two different outcomes. And when I look at the flood story, it's one story. We all agree there's a flood. Everyone's agreeing there's a flood, but the Bible's giving its version. And in its version, God is the one in control, and it kills the fairy tale. It's a local flood. It's not a global flood like Gilgamesh, like the other ones. And that, it's for me, it kills the pagans' version, and God is the focus of the story, and it's a local flood. And even though Gilgamesh is also about, people looking for everlasting life, and there's similarities to the story, but they're completely different stories at the same time. Two different interpretations completely. They're not copying from the story. The biblical version destroys the Epic of Gilgamesh. It destroys it. It's not a copy. It's no different than having two versions of the Holocaust. Two different, like the ovens cannot kill that many people. You cannot kill 6 million or 4 million people. and even the camp admits, you're right. There's no way we got rid of that many bodies. Let's drop the number, and they officially dropped the number. Like, I don't have to, you know what I mean? So as more evidence comes out, they have to change the official story. So it's same story, guys. We're talking about the Holocaust here, but it was two completely different interpretations, and one version destroys the other version. And that's the Epic of Gilgamesh, Bible. The Bible story destroys, the Bible version destroys the Epic of Gilgamesh. Does that make sense to you? Right? So, oy vey. Now, pay attention. I never claimed that the Persians are Semites. I never said that. I never said that. And that's what makes this so funny, is he built this whole thing off something I never said. I said, let's quote me, even the Persians can call themselves Semites. That's what I actually said. All right? And there's a big difference that they can call themselves that, even though they're not. It's kind of like I can call myself English. I can call myself British. I don't have any British blood in me as far as I know. My family's been fighting the British. I'm part of the British Empire. I wore a British uniform. I speak a British language, right? It's like the kings of England. You know, the kings of England, the Plantagenets, after William the Conqueror took England, all the nobility and most of the nobility and the kings of England were all French. Are they English kings? They're kings of England from France. They're English kings though, aren't they? They're kings of England, but they're from France. What are they? Can you call the kings of England French? Right? Because they're from France. They're ruling in England. Are they English kings or French? I don't know which one. Which one are they? Do you see where I'm getting at? So the kings of England, the Plantagenet family, Henry V was the first English king, I'm pretty sure, that could speak English as a first language. Okay? Can he not call himself French? The whole Battle of Agincourt, the whole war against the French was King Henry claiming, I'm French. I might be the king of England, but I'm French, and I'm coming to take back my land. I'm coming to take France because I believe it, I have a claim to it. Because I'm French, even though I'm king of England. Okay, so this is kind of where I'm going with that. And it's also very important, language. There's language and there's culture, and genetics, okay? Now, in the Bible, I'm not allowed to use this because Adam Green and Gnostic Informant don't believe in the Bible. But in the Bible, it says the first son of Shem is Elam. And Elam is a province in Iran. If you go to Iran today, there is a province called Elam. And there was a kingdom, very important one we can actually talk about, because a lot of the stories of the Elamites from secular sources, secular historians, are going to prove events from Genesis, okay? We're not going to talk about them now, but we'll talk about them later. And so Elam is a son of Shem, and his region is in Iran today, okay? And what happened was, the last time Elamites were ruling was, I think, they fought against a king of Assyria, Ashurbanipal, and he removed the kings and put Persians as the kings, but the Persians mixed with the Elamites and even spoke the Elamite language and adopted the entire Elamite culture. Okay, so the Persians are a total race mix of Elamites, and that's what the Achaemenid dynasty is. They were brought in, and the first thing you do, I'm gonna cover this right now. The first thing you do is when you conquer foreign lands, standard practice in the ancient world is you mix with the people. If you saw this all throughout Game of Thrones, for instance, when Daenerys was in that land in the east, and Meereen or whatever, she's like, okay, well, it makes sense for me to take a local husband so that the people, I'll be legitimate in the eyes of the people and any children I might have, right? The guy in the north there, Ramsay, I know I'm using Game of Thrones, but it's the same in ancient history. It's the same in history. The first thing you do is you mix with the locals, and you produce half-breed children so that the half-breed children are more likely to rule over the people, and you'll become one. The Tsar of Russia, Tsar Nicholas II, was more than 90% German. He was like 8%, he was maybe 5% Russian. The last king of Russia was 5% Russian by blood. Yet he was the king of Russia, even though he was more German and Swedish and yeah, I think it was Swedish or Danish. He was majority German, but he was the king of Russia, right? Genetically he's a German, but he's king of Russia. He's Russian, right? He's Russian, right? Is he? The Tsar, even though he's king of Russia, can call himself German because 90% of the people in his family tree are Germans. Do you understand? King of Russia, but he can call himself German. That's where I'm going with my statement. I never said the Semites the Persians are Semites. I said even the Persians can call themselves Semites. Now you see, if Gnostic Informant did what he said, I think when two people disagree, it's good for them to discuss. We don't agree. It's good for the other people that they can learn, and we can all learn together. He didn't do that with me. It's gotcha. You're stupid. You just pulled that out of your ass. You don't know what you're talking about. We'll see, buddy. Okay. So this is the Median Empire, and Cyrus is going to conquer that. Cyrus is going to be coming out of Elam, Anshan province. The Bible says was founded by Semites, but I can't use that. It's okay. So the Elamites, Persian kings, but they're not it's not a Persian. You now have Persian kings ruling. The Achaemenids are ruling. Persian people are being mixed into the Elamites. The Persian kings spoke Elamite originally. Then they're going to drop it. Okay. So this is the land. So now what you're going to notice is these are all Semitic lands. Okay. And they're going to conquer this. They're going to conquer Lydia. Then they're going to come in and take Babylon. All right. So what does Cyrus the Great do? Cyrus, okay, this is coming from Xenophon, Greek historians, student of Socrates. Cyrus also gave his companions wives from among the Medes, the Hyrcanians, and other allies so that they might have children by them, and so that these children might be bound together by ties of kinship throughout the empire. Standard practice for the king of Persia, Cyrus, who he himself is also part Elamite. Okay, Persian kings mixed with the Elamites. That's how they solidify their rule. They go, okay, this is like my children are now half-breeds. They're now mixed with noble blood from the land. Okay, Alexander the Great, what was the first thing he did after he took over the Persians? The same thing Cyrus did. Go mix with the locals. Go. Okay, in the city of Susa, okay, Persian city, Alexander arranged a mass wedding in 324 BC, marrying Statira, daughter of Darius III, and giving Persian noble women in marriage to 80 of his companions. Okay, chairs were placed. Okay, there's a big, the brides entered, fathers kissed the brides, It was a calculated act, okay, of imperial fusion, binding Macedonian ambition to Persian bloodlines. So now, his companions, they're all taking the noble girls, and they're going to have children with them. Why? So now, what are those children? Are those children Persian? Are they Greek? What are they? What are they? Oh, they're only Greek. They're not Persian at all. They have Persian mothers. They're going to be ruling in Persian lands. They're not Persians, though. They're just Greeks. When the Persians took Babylon, they took Assyria, they took all those Semitic lands, and they mixed with all those people, mixed with all those nobles. Well, those children, those Persian children, they're not Semitic. They're going to stay Indo-European, even though that's a language group. Oy vey. So Artaphernes is the brother of Darius the Great. Okay? He's the younger brother of Darius the Great, who was the Persian general, the Median general, I should say. I don't even think Darius, he might have been a mix, but he was Median, I'm pretty sure. So here's a Mede. I'm pretty sure he's Median. I don't even think he's Persian. He's king of Persia, but he's distant, maybe, Achaemenid, but I think he's more Median. Anyway, so his brother, Artaphernes, satrap of Sardis. So he's the satrap is like the ambassador. He's like the governor general in the British Commonwealth. We would call him the governor general, commanding the army. Gave his daughter in marriage to a noble Lydian. Why? To secure the loyalty of the local elites. Standard practice. So what are the Persians? Here's Artaphernes giving his Medo-Persian daughter to a Lydian to have children. So that it what? Now are his grandchildren, what are they? They're half Lydian and they're Medo-Persian. They're mixed. They're mixed race. Okay. Satrap of Bactria. Okay. It's the same thing, same position. What did he do? They're taking wives among the locals so that their children were raised in both Persian and native customs. So now these children are going to be the mixed race children are going to be the ultimate heirs to rule because they're going to be raised in both customs and traditions. Okay, it's just the best. That's what you do. Okay, the Persians ruling in Egypt. What did they do when the Persians took Egypt? They took wives from the priestly class to legitimize their rule. Okay, gave favor with the native population. So now the children are all half-breed Persian Egyptians. All the nobility now is going to be a mixed race group. So the Persians, Indo-European speakers, but now what they've done is they've taken over Semitic lands, Greek lands, lands in Egypt, and now they're mixing. They're being ordered to mix with all those people. All right. So now the language is going to change, where on one side of the empire, in the Persian courts, they're still going to speak Indo-European, but now what's going to take over is Imperial Aramaic. Aramaic is now, Semitic language is now going to become the language of the empire, spoken, all military commands, all these stuff. The moment that they leave Persia and go to govern their subjects, the language isn't going to, they're not going to order their subjects around in their language. They're going to order their subjects around in the imperial lingua franca, which is Aramaic. So now the official documents of the Achaemenid Empire, royal edicts, tax records, military orders were written in imperial Aramaic. Sometimes they're written in both, but to their subjects, they're ruling their empire with a Semitic language. Okay? Akkadian. Okay? It's not Sumerian, Akkadian, which then became either Syriac or Aramaic. Okay, just as the Romans were Latin by origin, but their empire became Greco-Roman, Persians became Semito-Persian by administration. So just like we say Greco-Roman, you could say Semito-Persian because it's no different. As the Romans are going to mix with the Greeks and then rule their empire in Greek, okay, at least once they get past this end, it's all going to be Greek. Greek is going to be the lingua franca of the time, and that's why we call it Greco-Roman in our modern world. Okay? Persians are going to do the exact same thing as the Romans. It's going to be Semito-Persian. That's it. That's my point. Even the Persians can call themselves Semites. That's what I said. I didn't say that Persians are Semites. Gotcha! You see? All you had to do was have a talk with me, not try to make me look stupid. You pulled that out of your ass. No, man. Okay? I'm quoting history. Okay, administrative unity. Aramaic allowed Persians to govern millions across Semitic-speaking lands without imposing Old Persian. So, the Persians were Indo-European ethnically, but Semitic linguistically in their imperial government. Okay, so again, I never claimed that the Persians are Semites. I said even the Persians can call themselves Semites based on imperial alliance. They're part of the same empire. Intermarriage with conquered, liberated nobility and people. Adopted Aramaic, okay, Semitic as the imperial language, okay. If we can call Rome Greco-Roman because it functioned in Greek, then the Achaemenid Persian state is best called Semito-Persian because it ruled in Aramaic, the Semitic language of law and empire, okay. And if we go to the definition of Semitic, the definition relating to or denoting a family of language. That's what it means. That's the core definition of Semitic. It's actually not, while Semitic languages might have originally came from a group of genetic people, the official definition of this term, Semitic, relating to or denoting a family of languages that includes Hebrew, Arabic, and Aramaic, the language spoken by the Medo-Persian Empire, okay, and certain ancient languages such as Phoenician and Akkadian, that's the mother language, constituting the main subgroup of the Afro-Asiatic family. That's the definition of Semitic. The definition of Semitic, okay? Number 2, relating to the peoples who speak, not are, speak Semitic languages, especially Hebrew and Arabic. That's the definition of Semitic. So when I said even the Persians can call themselves Semites, I did not say the Persians are Semites. I said that they could call themselves that if they wanted to. Okay, just like the kings of England can call themselves English, they can call themselves French. Whatever they want. They're a mix of the two. Okay, the Persians that are ruling in those Semitic lands are half-breeds because they're commanded to do that. That is what you do when you take those lands. You start mixing, okay? All right, so I hope that actually answers those points, those questions. I hope I'm clear on that I didn't just pull that out of my ass. I wasn't just inventing something, that I was very clear in what I said, and I wish Gnostic Informant just took the time to listen, and they could have easily talked to me and said, hey man, what did you mean by that? But instead they're just playing, gotcha, you're just a dumb idiot, you don't know what you're talking about, you invented that, this is the dumbest video I never wanted to see. Like, man, like, come on. All right. So that's it. Again, I just want to thank everyone who donated to me. I couldn't do this without you. You guys literally saved me this month. If you guys want to see me continue, I do need your support. Like, it's other than that, or I'm not like these guys. I don't know how Adam Green makes his money and lives so well, and Gnostic Informant, and they just seem to travel, and I mean, it's really suspicious when you look at these guys. They've obviously got funding and money and support, and they're stable. I'm not. I had to leave my country. I'm running around Eastern Europe. Anyways, so if you guys want to support me, please go to the description, give, send, go. I'm running a giveaway this month. At the end of the month, top donation gets a Third Reich necklace made with a real coin from World War II, or just before actually this one. And that's it. All right, so I hope that was clear. I hope I explained myself. I hope you guys understand what I meant by all that. And yeah, that's everything. I think tomorrow I'm doing a live interview with Alfred Schaefer, so tune in for that. And yeah, I think that's it. So if you guys have any questions, you can send it to the Give, Send, Go. I'd like to do a big Q&A thing. And that's about it. So I hope you guys are well. And yeah, God bless you all.